Maybe because there is a whole world just waiting for us. Many things created by the God we trust. And it's a shame, it's a shame.
Hi guys, welcome to my channel. I've had time to have me, so I'm extremely excited for that. I would not have been able to function without it. So, quick introduction of me. Well, before I get into that, I just wanted to go ahead and explain like the purpose of this video. I kind of wanted to give you guys an insight on how my life was growing up in a military household. I know that there's lots of videos on YouTube from other people's experiences, but I kind of wanted to give you guys my story from my point of view on how my life was growing up, being a kid. Guys have a little bit more understanding about me and where I came from. Again, this video just to give you my insight so you guys can get to know a little bit more about me. So starting off, I was in a Air Force household. My dad is still in, right now he is currently, I believe, a master sergeant. So he's been in the Air Force for about, I want to say 20 years now. He went in when I was just a baby, and I'm now 23 years old. I'm currently still in college right now. I'm in my last year. I have a few more months left and I graduate, yay. I'm majoring in exercise physiology, but I'm also going into the Army as an officer. So I ended up branching medical services. So I'm pretty excited for that. That's pretty much about it. I've been a military brat for the last 23 years. Although my parents aren't married anymore, they kind of went their separate ways. I still get the military benefits. Before I had joined the Army, I guess you guys are probably wondering why am I Army if my dad was Air Force? Long story, I promise I'll make another video about that. I just do not want to get into the weeds of that. So yeah, I'm getting to it. I proposed a series I want to know or most common questions that are asked. So throughout my video, I'll just go ahead and answer them for you. If there's any more questions that you guys may have for me later on or in the near future for another video for me to post, feel free to comment below, and I promise I'll make sure that I'll read them when I have the chance. All right, so let's get into it.
What a good life we're living. I wanna go to London, Tokyo, Paris, LA.
Was it hard making friends? I honestly would have to say yes. It was extremely hard making friends. I'm not sure if you guys know, but being in the military, you're having to move around every 3 years. And it seemed as almost every state that we went to or every country that we went to, after 3 years or right up at the 1.5 year mark, I would get close with me. Like, we would hang out all the time, go over for sleepovers, and we just like ended up really connecting and creating a bond. So it's like by the time that we really got to know each other, it was time for me to leave. So I guess the bad thing about being a military brat growing up is that I don't really have too many childhood friends. I would say that the only childhood friend that I have that I still keep in contact today is my best friend, Kayla Meredith. She just got back from living in Japan. She was over there a while, a lot longer than I was. And so she stays in Mississippi now. She has a Mississippi University. So she should be finishing up shortly too. We're the same age, but that was like my only childhood friend, you know, in the late 90s and the early 2000s. We didn't really have phones. I was still in elementary school at the time. Elementary school, early middle school years. Yeah, it was hard. I honestly wish personally that I could get back in touch with some of the friends, because I met some great people growing up. It's amazing to have friends from different walks of life, friends growing up in different places. You don't get that, you know, being a civilian kid. I mean, you do, but at the same time, it's just not the same. So living overseas was amazing. It's a different world overseas. I know I had lived in England, which was only, we were stationed at Mildenhall Air Force Base, so Lakenheath Air Force Base. So it was only like maybe 2.5 hours from London. So we would go like every weekend to London. And we ended up traveling to Paris too. So those places, it was a culture shock because just the textures of the architectures of the buildings, everything that was over there, it was ancient. And you know, being a little girl reading books and watching princess movies, I think it's pretty cool that England still believes in monarchy power. They believe in kings and queens and princesses and prince. Like, it's amazing. It was literally a fairy tale over there. And the fact that I got to see that, that's just something that nobody can take away from me, from the memories. So this picture, this was basically me on top of one of the castles in Doverman. My mom took that picture. We were just having the time of our lives. It was incredible seeing those buildings in real life and us just taking it all in. There's this again, we were on the road, Doverman Castle in the back. We just stopped to take pictures on the tour guide. This church right here, it's a famous church. It's Westminster Abbey. This is where the royalty gets married at. You hear about this all the time. Their churches are amazing. Just the way that they took the time to really build everything. And the museums over there, like, yeah, we have museums here in the States, but over there, they had the wax museum, and that was pretty big back in the early 2000s. Like, a wax museum, I mean, come on now, look, that just looked like we took a picture with Queen Elizabeth. That looked so real, and it was like no other. And then, of course, the States started having wax museums. This was us standing outside of Westminster Abbey, or it could have been Buckingham Palace. I'm not sure. I know that we were just taking pictures left and right. My dad was deployed at the time, so me and my mom, that's all we did was travel. Honestly, for the longest, it was just me and her against the world. For 10 years, literally, me and her against the world. So for my mom's birthday, we ended up taking a trip to Paris. So it was like a 5-hour bus ride, and then we got on the ferry. It had been 5 or 6, 7 hours, I'm not sure. Well, we ended up getting on the ferry, and my mom looked sick in this picture. Hilarious. She threw up, and I'm like, Mom, the boat was big enough for you to not even know that we were on the water. I had to have been 8 years old in this picture, but she had a blast for her 26th birthday. It was a 25th birthday, I believe, and she had so much fun. I enjoyed myself. I'm really big into art. I actually can draw, by the way, but just seeing Paris while living in England, it's literally a skip and a hop away. It's so close, right off the coast of England. The Eiffel Tower was huge. I believe my mom had too much to drink that night, so I didn't get a chance to make it all the way up to the top. We had got to the middle, if you can see the middle before it kind of towers in straight up. There's where the gift shops and stuff is at. My mom, she thought the Eiffel Tower was swaying, so we got back down as fast as the elevators could move. She was not playing any games that night. Me being here in Japan, I would say that's where I picked up my first love for soccer. I had always been a basketball fan. Basketball was my love. My dad, we would always get up in the morning and go to the gym on base and play basketball on Saturday mornings. And I was really good at it. And then when we got to Japan, I was like, hey, why not? Let's try something different. I was just naturally athletic, and I picked up soccer really fast. It was amazing.
right there in the middle of things is you. Okay, woo. Yeah, right there in the middle.
Okay, so the schools, of course, stateside were pretty much the same. There wasn't anything different. But definitely overseas, the school's structure was, I don't know the words to quite describe it, but the school structure over there, when I say we went on field trips, we went on field trips. Let's see. So I know that over here, my brother being in elementary school, the field trips, he would say, hey, Mom, can you sign my permission slip? Like, I'm going on a field trip. And I'm like, hey, bud, where are you going on a field trip to? He's like, the mall. And I'm like, the mall? What's, like, they're taking on a field trip to the food court to the mall? Like, that's not a field trip. But I guess here in America, a field trip means you're taking a break from the school and you're just leaving the premises of the school and just going somewhere. Or you go maybe in a museum. But I'm like, oh, okay, that's really not a field trip. But I'm happy to remember that not everybody had the privilege of growing up in a military household. My brother was born, he only got the chance to live it for about a year and a half before my parents got a divorce. So he didn't really grow up military household. With me, on the other hand, me being, when we got overseas and he had the opportunity to go to the schools overseas, I know in England, they taught their different culture. Obviously, if you're in that country, you're going to have to understand their culture and their way of living. So when we went on a field trip, we'd either go to old ruined castles, was one of them, or we would just go to a British school and be paired up with a British kid and see how they did their schools. And then vice versa, they would switch days and they would come on base and see how American kids did their schools. I thought that was a really good learning experience because it gave them an insight on how Americans really are, and it gave us an insight on how the British are. I have to tell you guys that they are bad. The British kids, oh my gosh, their discipline is like, it's really bad. I know that when we get to their school, we didn't bring any lunch because they were going to give us lunch there. When we got released for recess, us American kids had ran outside and we were looking around for like equipment. We're like, hey, where's the equipment at? Like, where's the monkey ball? We had no idea that they had no equipment out there. So they kind of just told us that like for their recess, they just played either polo or they came up with games or they played cricket. And we kind of just asked them, well, what's the difference between like polo and cricket? And they tried to explain it to us. And I was just like, you know what? It's cool. I'm just going to go back inside. Like, this is not for me. It's the same concept with being in Japan. So the Japanese kids come to our school at Camp Foster. I live at Camp Foster, the Marine base, Okinawa. And they came to our school. They learned, we got paired up with one. And they saw how we did ours. It was kind of hard trying to communicate with them, being that I didn't speak Japanese at the time and they didn't speak American. So it was really funny and interesting to try to get them to like communicate. Hey guys, this is Maddox, by the way. He was being very lazy. He came over here to like say hi, I guess. Maddox, you can say hi? No? It's okay. But yeah, so then when we went to their base, we went to their school, they have what you call wabakis. And it's basically like house shoes, but it's school shoes. So you take your shoes off to show respect. So you're not dirtying up their floors, but you put on these shoes called wabakis in place of your shoes. So when you're walking around their campus or their school, their floors remain clean. Now for lunch, they knew that we were coming. So we had the option of eating their lunch, which was like squid tentacles and rice and fish eyeballs and everything else that they had. And then they had like chicken nuggets for us. I thought that was pretty cool. I was like, okay, that's cool. You give us an option on if we're going to eat your guys' food or stop, Maddox. Oh my gosh. We're going to eat your guys' food or we're going to eat the chicken nuggets. It's pretty pretty fair. They did teach us a little bit of Japanese on Fridays at the school in Japan. So we had like our language arts, but we also had Japanese. We learned how to write our name in kanji, and we used to sit there and watch anime cartoons and eat rice balls. I thought that was pretty awesome. And then obviously in England, their favorite thing was fish and chips, which is fried French fries with salt and vinegar on it, and the fish is codfish. They mostly found in the English Channel. It had salt and vinegar, and it was deep fried too. It was so good, but so fattening. Me and my dad ate there so often, and my mom could never figure out why we never got fat whenever he got back from his deployments. It was just all around good time growing up overseas. Okay, so coming back coming back to the States was definitely a culture shock again, because I was living overseas for about a good 6 years. So a lot of the things that was to our American social norm, I didn't know. For example, gangs. I didn't know that gangs existed because when I left the States, I was a child. So my mom and dad wasn't going to tell me in the first grade in kindergarten, oh, there's gangs out. Like, that's not something you tell at kindergarten or somebody like in elementary school. So when I came back, I was in middle school-ish age frame, and I was just like, I don't know what gangs were. So to them, I was looked at like the weird child. For one, I didn't know about the things that you would think you would know. And I had no idea. Like, I also had got picked on too. It was also hard making friends coming back because I had like an accent. So they were trying to figure out, okay, this is weird. Like, most people don't know if you haven't got out and traveled. Most people think that most British people are all Caucasian people, and they're not. There's a lot of Black African American people over here too. So they were just like, okay, who is this Black girl? Why does she have a British accent? And how come she doesn't know anything about the normal stuff that most Americans know about? I had it pretty rough. Also, another thing too that we do overseas is you speak to everybody. Talking to everybody, it's just something you do. It's just being nice. And then also in the military, it's just friendly. So when we came back and we were just, in the store, and we're just like, hi, how are you? Speaking to people, they were looking at us like, who are you? Like, don't be talking to me. I don't know you. And me and my mom had to like get accustomed to that really fast. We were just used to talking to people, not used to going somewhere and not speaking to anybody. We're just friendly like that. Another thing too, race wasn't a big thing overseas. Especially being in the military, you're taught to not see color. There is no color. Everything's in black and white. The military teaches you to get along with everybody, love everybody the same. So we didn't know that racism still kind of existed in the States, especially here in North Carolina. It's not blatantly out there that, oh, no blacks allowed or anything, but it's definitely known that it's just don't get treated equally. We had to kind of get accustomed to that too. I won't go into detail, but we didn't know about that either. So it was definitely a culture shock coming back to the States. I don't know. Now that I'm in the military, firsthand, and I'm not a dependent anymore, I definitely would love to travel and go back overseas. It's amazing. If you have the opportunity to travel, even if you're not military and save up money, just go, do it. Life's honestly too short to sit here and contemplate on what you could have did or what could have been. Just do it. I'm honestly going to have to re-travel again because when I did, I was a kid. Now that I'm a young adult, it's definitely going to be a different experience for me, and not having my mom around. Me and my mom, I'm sure, will travel, but like going over there without my parents, it's definitely going to be different. But I look forward to it. Lately, kind of right now, I've just been taking short trips like Utah, California, I'm looking to go to Greece in the near future, so hopefully you guys can give me some insight on how that is, and hopefully I can enjoy it. So now that you guys know a little bit about me now, hopefully that kind of helped give you a little insight on how it is being a military brat growing up, especially living overseas majority of your childhood life. And I hope you guys like this video. I'm getting better at it. Like I said, I'm new to YouTube. So definitely subscribe to my channel and hit that like button at the bottom, and I look forward to making more videos besides just vlogging about random things. See you next time, guys. Say bye, Maddox. No? Okay.